The sky above Earth was calm, almost too calm. It was an ordinary day, and the people of Earth went about their lives without knowing that their world was about to change forever. But as the sun began to set, a strange and eerie feeling spread across the planet. Satellites picked up an anomaly, a massive object entering Earth's atmosphere, faster than any human-made spacecraft. It wasn't like anything they had ever seen before. At first, many assumed it was just a meteor or a satellite falling back to Earth. But as the object drew closer, its true nature became clear. It was a ship unlike any other. It was enormous, shaped like a giant silver crescent, with glowing blue lights pulsating from its core. It moved with a grace that no human spacecraft could match, as if it was alive, moving in a way that defied all known physics. News spread fast. Scientists, military leaders, and government officials scrambled to understand what was happening. The world held its breath, waiting for answers. What was this ship? Where had it come from? And why was it here? As the ship entered Earth's atmosphere, it slowed down, coming to a soft landing in the desert. The entire world watched in silence. The ship's doors opened slowly, and from within emerged a group of beings, their appearance unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. They were tall, thin, and covered in smooth, reflective skin. Their eyes were large and black, but not in a menacing way, more curious than anything else. The beings moved carefully, almost cautiously, as if they weren't sure what to expect from the people of Earth. They didn't speak, but their body language seemed to convey a sense of desperation. They were clearly not here for conquest or war. The beings had arrived, the outcasts of the galaxy, cast aside by their own people. They were refugees, fleeing from a war they could not win, and they were looking for a place to call home. But Earth, unprepared for such a momentous event, did not know how to react. Governments and military leaders were torn between fear and compassion. What would it mean for humanity if they welcomed these outcasts? Would they bring peace, or was this the beginning of an intergalactic conflict that would change the course of history forever? As Earth's leaders debated, one thing became clear. These beings, these outcasts, needed sanctuary. They had nowhere else to go, and Earth was their last hope. But could humanity trust them? Could they risk opening their doors to an alien species that had been abandoned by their own? The world waited for an answer, the air thick with uncertainty. The fate of both Earth and the outcasts now hung in the balance, and every moment seemed to stretch on forever. What would humanity decide? Would they offer refuge to these strangers, or would they turn them away, leaving them to face a galaxy that had already rejected them? As the sun set on that fateful day, the future of two species, one old, one new, was on the brink of an uncertain future, and the choices made in the coming days would define the destiny of both. The tension on Earth was palpable. As the days passed, the leaders of humanity gathered in secret meetings, deliberating over the fate of the outcasts. The ships, which had landed in a barren desert, remained still, their occupants waiting in the cold silence of the night. The world's governments were unsure how to proceed. To welcome these alien refugees meant embracing the unknown, something humanity had always feared. A decision had to be made quickly. The outcasts could not remain hidden forever. Then, Kaller, the leader of the outcasts, stepped forward. He was taller than the others, with the same smooth, reflective skin and large black eyes that seemed to peer into the very depths of a person's soul. His voice, when he spoke, was soft yet filled with a sense of purpose that resonated deeply within those who listened. In a televised broadcast, Kaller addressed the people of Earth, his words translating in real time to every language spoken on the planet. "We are the Kravti," Kaller began. "We were once a proud and peaceful people, living on a distant world, far from your own. But our peace was shattered by a ruthless enemy, the Tsara Dominion. They came without warning, overwhelming us with their advanced technology. We fought back, but we were outmatched. Our world was destroyed. Our people scattered across the stars, hunted by the very beings who once believed in our peaceful existence. He paused, his large eyes filled with sorrow. We are refugees, outcasts of the galaxy, running from the very ones who destroyed our home. And we come to you now because we have nowhere else to go. Our people are dying. Our world is gone. We seek only sanctuary, a place to live in peace. We offer you no harm, no agenda, only our gratitude and the hope that Earth might be our new home. The world watched in stunned silence as Caller's words sank in. Some felt a deep sympathy for the outcasts, for the loss they had endured. Others, however, remained fearful. What if the outcasts were hiding something more dangerous? What if they were part of a larger scheme, luring humanity into a trap? Despite these fears, Earth's leaders agreed to allow Caller and his people to remain on Earth, at least temporarily. The outcasts would be granted sanctuary, but only under strict supervision. Humanity needed time to decide if they could trust them. As the days passed, the outcasts were carefully monitored. They were given small sections of land, isolated from human populations for safety. But even though their intentions seemed peaceful, strange occurrences began to happen. Some humans who ventured too close to the outcast settlement reported strange lights in the sky at night. Some claimed to have heard odd, unfamiliar sounds that they couldn't explain. Meanwhile, the outcasts themselves remained mysterious. They had shown no aggression, and their technology seemed far beyond anything humanity had ever seen. They offered advanced knowledge in medicine, technology, and science, but some of their gifts were strange, tools that seemed far too advanced for their own good. Some wondered if they were using Earth's resources to rebuild their own civilization, using humanity for their own secretive purposes. The fears of the people of Earth began to grow as whispers spread through the cities. Would humanity be the one to suffer from this unexpected alliance? Or could the outcasts truly be the innocents they claimed to be? What secrets did they keep hidden beneath their quiet, reflective exteriors? Caller's promise of peace seemed genuine, but in the hearts of many, doubt began to take root. Could Earth afford to trust the outcasts? Or would they become the next victims of a galaxy-wide war that humanity had no part in? The days grew heavier with uncertainty as Earth waited for an answer. A storm was brewing, one that neither humanity nor the outcasts could control. But one thing was clear. The arrival of these outcasts had set in motion a chain of events that no one could have predicted. Earth was now at the crossroads of a greater cosmic conflict, and no matter what choice they made, they would never be the same again. The days following Caller's speech were filled with a tense quiet. Earth's leaders had agreed to grant the outcasts sanctuary, but there was still a sense of unease among the general population. Though the outcasts had given no reason to distrust them, the world watched with suspicion, waiting for something, anything, that would explain their presence. And then, without warning, it happened. The first attack came in the dead of night. Across the globe, cities were suddenly plunged into chaos. Alarms blared as military bases scrambled to prepare, but they were too late. The sky above Earth was torn open by the thunderous roar of unfamiliar ships. Massive dark shapes descended, their weapons crackling with deadly energy. The alien fleet, tens of thousands of ships, each one armed to the teeth, flooded the skies. Their weapons were unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. The first cities struck fell in an instant, their buildings reduced to rubble by the deadly beams of the alien attackers. Earth's defenses, even the most advanced systems, were overwhelmed in mere minutes. At first, the people of Earth believed the attack was a random act of aggression. But then, Earth's military scrambled to make contact with the outcasts, hoping that they could offer some insight. It didn't take long for them to discover the horrifying truth. These aliens were not just invaders, they were hunting the outcasts, and they had followed them all the way to Earth. The Xara Dominion had arrived. The truth was far more terrifying than anyone could have imagined. These alien invaders were ruthless and destructive, their sole goal being to eradicate the Kravti people from the galaxy. And now, they had Earth in their sights. Earth wasn't just a random target, it was the last refuge for the outcasts. General Lawson, Earth's top military leader, was given the impossible task of leading Earth's defense against the alien forces. As he sat in his command center, staring at the massive screens displaying the alien fleets closing in, he understood the gravity of the situation. Earth had never faced an enemy like this before. Humanity's advanced technology was no match for the might of the Xara Dominion. But as the enemy forces closed in, something unexpected happened. The outcasts, Kaller and his people, began to mobilize. They had been preparing in secret, hiding their true capabilities. They had advanced technology, far beyond anything humanity had ever seen. Ships rose from the outcast settlement, sleek and shining, with energy shields that flickered like distant stars. Kaller's voice came over the comms, calm and determined. "We have fought this enemy before. We know their tactics. We will help you defend your world. Together, we stand a chance." Despite the fear and doubt that had plagued the leaders of Earth, there was no time left for hesitation. They had to act, or Earth would be lost. The outcasts offered the last hope. Humanity's military and the outcast ships formed an uneasy alliance as they prepared to meet the Xara Dominion head-on. In orbit, the first wave of the Xara fleet attacked, firing massive energy beams that tore through Earth's atmosphere like a hot knife through butter. But as the battle raged in the skies, a dark realization hit. The outcast ships were holding their own, fighting with an intensity and precision that made humanity's forces look like amateurs. The humans couldn't help but wonder, how had the outcasts known how to fight the Xara Dominion so well? Had they been preparing for this war all along? The uneasy alliance between the humans and the outcasts deepened as the battle intensified. Earth's forces were caught off guard, but the outcast ships had advanced energy shields and weaponry that were proving invaluable. The Xara Dominion, though powerful, was facing an enemy it had not anticipated. The battle was far from over, but humanity had something it had never had before: hope. The outcasts had proven themselves in the first few hours of the battle. But as the fight escalated, the question remained: could they win this war together? Or was this just the beginning of an even darker chapter in Earth's history? The Xara Dominion was ruthless, but humanity and the outcasts had one advantage: the will to fight, no matter the cost. And as the last light of day fell over the burning cities of Earth, one thing was certain: this would be a battle for the ages. The survival of two species depended on their ability to unite and face the terror of the stars. Would humanity and the outcasts triumph? Or would they fall together, their hopes of sanctuary and survival crushed by the brutal hands of the Xara Dominion? The war against the Xara Dominion was unlike anything humanity had ever prepared for. For centuries, Earth had focused on defense against its own human conflicts, but now they were thrust into a galactic-scale battle against an enemy that was merciless and cunning. The Xara ships blotted out the sky, their blackened hulls casting shadows over the world's cities. Earth's defenses were crumbling under the relentless onslaught. Yet in the midst of it all, a new hope emerged: a fragile, desperate alliance between humanity and the outcasts. General Lawson paced back and forth in the war room, watching as the outcast fleet, led by Kaller, engaged the Xara ships in a fierce battle above Earth's atmosphere. Despite their overwhelming numbers and advanced weaponry, the Xara Dominion was not accustomed to facing the united front like this. The outcasts, who had once been the hunted, were now the hunters, and they were not about to let the Xara take Earth without a fight. Kaller's voice crackled through the communications line. "General Lawson, we have identified a weakness in their fleet. If we can disable their command ship, the entire Xara fleet will fall into disarray. We need your forces to create an opening for us." It was a risky move, but Lawson knew they had no choice. He turned to his team of strategists and gave the order. Earth's remaining fleet, what little was left of it, would hold the Xara forces back while the outcast ships made a daring strike. The fate of Earth and the outcasts rested on their ability to execute this plan. With a deep breath, Lawson nodded. Let's make it happen. The sky erupted in fire as the two fleets collided. Xara ships, massive and terrifying, unleashed devastating beams of energy on Earth's defenses. Humanity's forces fought valiantly, but they were outmatched. Meanwhile, the Outcast ships danced through the chaos, their sleek designs weaving in and out of the Xara fleet with unnatural precision. It was clear now, the Outcasts were no ordinary refugees. They had once fought this war, and they had the skills and technology to do so again. Caller's ship led the charge, a silver streak through the darkened sky. "We are ready," Caller announced, his voice steady despite the battle raging around him. "We will make our move now." In a swift, coordinated maneuver, the Outcast ships dove toward the heart of the Xara fleet. They knew the location of the Xara Dominion's command ship, hidden deep in the midst of their forces. The Xara had relied on their overwhelming numbers, thinking that sheer power would win the day. They were wrong. As the Outcasts' fleet broke through the Xara ranks, they made their move toward the command ship. The battle was fierce, but the Xara, unprepared for such an attack, faltered. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light as the Outcasts' advanced weapons disabled them one by one. Caller's voice rang out again. "We're almost there. Prepare for the final strike." The tension was unbearable. General Lawson held his breath, watching from Earth's command center. A hit to the Xara command ship could cripple their entire fleet, but it would come at a tremendous risk. The Outcast ships were faster, more agile, but they were also smaller, and many had already taken heavy damage. And then it happened. A flash of blue light, blinding and intense, shot out from Caller's ship. The command ship of the Xara Dominion exploded into a cascade of fire and debris. The shockwave rippled through the battlefield, and for the first time, the Xara forces hesitated. Their flagship had been destroyed, and their chain of command was severed. Earth's forces took immediate advantage of the chaos, launching a final assault. The Xara fleet, without direction, began to crumble. What had been an unstoppable force just hours before was now on the defensive, their ships falling one by one. It was the first victory Earth had tasted since the invasion began. The battle raged on for hours, but now there was hope. The Xara Dominion's invasion had been dealt a crushing blow. General Lawson stood in the command center, watching as the skies above Earth slowly cleared. His heart raced with adrenaline, but a sense of relief washed over him. They had done it. They had won their first battle. The Outcasts, though battered, were victorious. The fragile alliance between humanity and the Gravity had proven its worth. It wasn't just technology that had turned the tide, but the courage of both species. Together, they had struck the Xara a blow they would not easily recover from. Caller's voice crackled through the comms once more, his words filled with both exhaustion and pride. "This is only the beginning, General. We've won a battle, but the war is far from over. The Xara will not stop hunting us, and now they know that we are not alone." The alliance between humanity and the Outcasts had forged something stronger than just military might. It had forged a bond between two species, one forged in the heat of battle, born of survival and necessity. The Xara Dominion may have suffered a defeat, but the war was far from over. And as humanity and the Outcasts stared into the uncertain horizon, one thing was clear: this was only the beginning. The fate of the galaxy rested in their hands. The victory at Earth's skies was sweet, but it was short-lived. The damage done to the Xara Dominion's fleet was significant, but their forces were far from defeated. It only took a matter of days for the Xara to regroup, and soon, reports came flooding in from across the galaxy. Xara reinforcements were on their way. Earth's first victory had come at a terrible cost, and the clock was ticking. On Earth, the atmosphere was thick with tension. After the initial success, humanity's hope was reignited, but that hope was soon met with the chilling reality of what they were up against. Caller's people, the Gravity, had known the Xara Dominion for generations, but even they could sense the change in the air. The Xara were not just any enemy. They were relentless, calculating, and resourceful. They would not rest until their goal was achieved. General Lawson paced nervously in the war room, his face illuminated by the flickering lights of the command screens. Earth's forces had been replenishing their fleets, but there were growing concerns. The Xara Dominion wasn't known for retreating, and their ability to adapt was uncanny. "We can't rest on our laurels," Lawson said, his voice strained. "We've bought ourselves time, but it's not enough. We need to make the next move before the Xara retaliate." Kaller was standing beside him, looking over the data with a grim expression. "The Xara will strike again, General. They have no choice. Their pride is at stake, and their hunt for my people will not end. We need to prepare for a counterattack, not just in space, but on the ground. We cannot afford to underestimate them." The room fell silent. Earth's military leaders understood the severity of the situation. A full-scale invasion was coming. But this time, humanity could not rely solely on the Outcast's technology. Earth would need to fight smarter, and that meant outthinking the Xara. Kaller's voice cut through the silence. "I have an idea. The Xara use a specialized communication network to control their fleet and coordinate their attacks. If we can hack into their system, we can disrupt their command structure long enough to give us a fighting chance. But we need access to their satellite relay. It's located on a distant moon, and it's heavily guarded." The stakes were higher than ever. The Gravity had knowledge of the Xara's technological weaknesses, but getting to the relay required a daring mission, one that could change the tide of the war. With no other choice, General Lawson gave the order. Earth's military would team up with the Gravity once more. Together, they would launch a covert operation to infiltrate the Xara's satellite relay station on the barren moon of Andor. As the plan was set into motion, the teams readied themselves. Humanity's best soldiers and the most experienced Gravity warriors prepared to board ships for a mission deep within enemy lines. Time was running out, and the Xara would not wait. The journey to Andor was perilous. The moon was located on the outskirts of Xara-controlled space, and any wrong move could alert the enemy to their presence. The plan was simple: get in, access the relay, and hack into the Xara's network before their defenses could react. But the risks were enormous. If the mission failed, Earth's last chance to neutralize the Xara's command system would be lost. As the fleet made its way to the moon, the tension among the crew was palpable. It wasn't just the weight of the mission that pressed down on them. It was the overwhelming fear of what would happen if they failed. The Xara weren't like any enemy they had faced before. Their sheer firepower could obliterate humanity's last line of defense. Kaller addressed the team before they deployed. His calm voice held a steady resolve. "This mission is more than just survival. This is our chance to cripple the Xara's ability to strike. We are not just fighting for Earth. We are fighting for every species the Xara have destroyed. Do not let fear cloud your judgment. We must succeed." With those final words, the fleet descended toward Andor. As the ships broke through the moon's atmosphere, they were met with immediate resistance. Xara fighters appeared out of nowhere, their sleek forms cutting through the dark skies like shadows. But the alliance between humanity and the Gravity had proven its worth in previous battles, and now they fought together in perfect synchrony. The operation was a dance of precision and courage. The military forces fought valiantly to protect the infiltration teams, who raced to the Xara satellite relay station. Gunfire and explosions echoed in the air as the two sides clashed on the barren, rocky surface of Andor. It was a race against time. The relay station was well guarded, but the Outcasts and Earth's forces had trained for this moment. It was their only shot at gaining control over the Xara's systems before they could strike back. Inside the relay station, the hacking teams worked furiously, slicing through Xara's security protocols with expert precision. Every second counted. Then, as the countdown reached its final moments, the relay network was hacked. Caller's voice came through the comms. "We've done it. The Xara are blind. Their command systems are down. Now, it's time to strike back." A wave of relief washed over the team. The Xara had lost their coordination. Their fleets were now vulnerable. The final battle was fast approaching. With the Xara temporarily crippled, humanity and the Outcasts could finally hit back with everything they had. The war was far from over, but they had taken the first crucial step toward victory. However, as the fleet turned back toward Earth, a new question lingered in the air. The Xara Dominion had been dealt a blow, but would that be enough? How much longer could humanity and the Outcasts hold the line against a ruthless, powerful foe that would stop at nothing to destroy them? The answer lay in the coming battle. The fate of both species hung in the balance. After months of fighting, Earth's hope was finally reignited. The Xara Dominion's fleet, weakened and disoriented after the sabotage of their communication systems, was now a shadow of its former power. For the first time since the invasion, the scales of battle seemed to tip in favor of humanity and the Outcasts. General Lawson stood at the head of the war room, staring at the vast display screens. The countdown to the final assault was ticking down, and every decision felt like it could determine the fate of Earth. The news from the front lines was grim, but there was also a spark of optimism that had never existed before. The Xara had made a critical mistake, one they would regret for the rest of the war. They had underestimated the strength of the human will and the resolve of the crafty. "We're ready for this, General." Caller's voice came through the comms, calm and collected as always. He and his people had been fighting this war for longer than anyone could imagine. But now they were fighting for more than just survival. They were fighting for the future. Lawson nodded grimly. "We're not just fighting to save Earth. We're fighting for every world the Xara have ravaged. This is it. This is our chance to end this war." It had been days since the sabotage of the Xara's communication relay. And now, Earth's fleet, reinforced by the Outcasts, was in position. The Xara, though crippled, were still formidable. Their fleet, once an overwhelming force, was now scattered and disorganized. But there were still enough of them to pose a serious threat. The final battle would take place in the heart of space, above Earth, where humanity's future would be decided. The plan was simple. Earth's forces, now reinforced by the Outcasts, would launch a massive assault on the Xara's remaining fleet. The goal was to destroy the command ships that had led the Xara forces. Without their leaders, the rest of the fleet would fall into disarray. But there was a twist. As the battle drew nearer, new intelligence came through. The Xara had launched a secret weapon. A massive warship, larger than any ship they had encountered so far, was en route to Earth. This behemoth was equipped with weaponry capable of destroying entire continents in a single blast. "Damn it," Lawson muttered under his breath, realizing what this meant. If they didn't act quickly, Earth could be destroyed in a single strike. The Xara were playing their final card. Caller, who had been listening in on the conversation, responded immediately. "We need to intercept it before it reaches Earth. If we don't, this entire battle will be for nothing." The plan shifted in an instant. Earth's forces, along with the Outcasts, would now divide into two separate groups. One would head directly for the Xara fleet, keeping them distracted, while the other group would focus on the warship, hoping to destroy it before it could fire. The stakes had never been higher. Earth's military, with the help of the Outcasts, had already proven their worth in this war, but this was the final challenge. The Xara's warship was the key to ending it all. As the two fleets engaged, the sky above Earth erupted into a deadly storm of gunfire and energy beams. The battle in space was fierce, but the Xara warship continued its approach, its engines powering forward at incredible speeds. Every second mattered. The Earth fleet's forces had to hold the Xara fleet off long enough to give the strike team a chance. Caller's ship led the charge against the warship. With the Crafty's superior technology and tactics, they had a chance, but the warship's defenses were nearly impenetrable. As Caller's ship weaved through the Xara fleet, it became clear that this would be no ordinary fight. The warship unleashed a powerful energy beam that scorched anything in its path. The battle was now more than just a fight for survival. It was a race against time. General Lawson watched from Earth's command center, sweat trickling down his face. The Xara had the advantage of firepower, but humanity had something they didn't: determination. Humanity had fought for centuries, enduring hardships and overcoming odds. And now, with the help of the Outcasts, they would fight for the survival of their world and all other civilizations in the galaxy. As the two forces collided in a deadly clash of metal and fire, Earth's forces and the Outcast ships executed their plan flawlessly. One by one, Xara command ships began to fall, their shields shattering under the combined might of humanity's forces. But the warship was still a threat, its weapons still powerful and deadly. With an audacious maneuver, Caller's fleet broke through the final defense lines and set their sights on the Xara warship's weak spot, its power core. A few ships had already been lost in the attempt, but the crafty's unyielding determination paid off. Caller's ship, swift and deadly, fired its final shot, a beam that hit the core dead center. The result was an explosion unlike anything they had ever seen. The warship shattered, its massive frame disintegrating into debris, its massive energy core detonating in a burst of light that sent shockwaves through the surrounding Xara fleet. The battle had taken a decisive turn. Target destroyed. Caller's voice echoed through the comms. The warship is down. We've won this battle. But there was no time to celebrate. The Xara forces, though leaderless and without their secret weapon, still posed a threat. The final push had begun. Earth's forces and the Outcasts had broken the back of the Xara Dominion. But the war was not yet over. Humanity's final stand had taken place, and now they would finish the fight once and for all. The stakes had never been higher, but with the warship destroyed, Earth now had the chance to fight for its future. And with that, humanity's last hope was no longer a distant dream. It was within reach. The dust from the shattered warship settled slowly, but the battle was far from over. The Xara Dominion, while severely weakened, was not finished yet. They had suffered a devastating blow, but the remaining forces, though scattered and leaderless, still fought with the fury of an empire that had once ruled vast swaths of the galaxy. General Lawson's eyes flicked across the holographic displays, watching the status of the remaining battle. The situation was grave, but not hopeless. Earth's forces had proven themselves, but the cost of this victory was becoming clear. In the chaos of the battle, there had been losses. Many of Earth's best ships had been destroyed in the fight to destroy the warship, but they still had one final chance to drive the Xara back for good. "We've crippled their fleet," Lawson said with a determined voice, his tone steady despite the tension. "Now we finish what we started. The Xara cannot be allowed to regroup, or this will all be for nothing. We have to press the attack." Caller stood beside him, his gaze fixed on the screens. His Gravity people had fought hard alongside humanity, but even they were feeling the toll of the battle. Their ships were battle-worn, and many of their warriors were wounded. Yet they stood firm. "We must strike now while they are disoriented," Caller said. "The Xara cannot recover from this without their fleet commanders. We must push through before they reorganize. If we give them time, they will retaliate in full force." But as Earth's military strategists began plotting their final assault, a new message crackled through the comms. It was a transmission from one of the last remaining Xara commanders. The voice was cold and mechanical, the sound of a race refusing to give up even in the face of destruction. "You may have won a battle." The voice of the Xara commander echoed through the comms. "But this war is far from over. We will rebuild. You cannot stop us. Our dominion will never fall." The words sent a ripple of unease through the command room. Lawson clenched his fists. He knew that Xara had no intention of surrendering. But what they didn't know was that humanity, fueled by the alliance with the Outcasts, was more than capable of finishing what they had started. "We don't need to stop them completely," Lawson said, more to himself than anyone else. "We just need to make sure they never return. We can't allow them to regroup and come after us again." The final assault began. Humanity's fleet, with the support of the crafty, surged forward, leaving the battered remnants of the Xara fleet behind. Their target was clear: the Xara command station, located on a desolate moon near the heart of their empire. It was the last stronghold of the Xara Dominion, a massive space station surrounded by fortified defenses and a few remaining Xara ships. But Earth had no intention of retreating. This would be the final push. With the help of their outcast allies, humanity had learned how to break through even the most advanced Xara defenses. They had worked together to build weapons capable of piercing the Xara's energy shields. But time was not on their side. They needed to strike fast. As Earth's fleet approached the moon, their ships entered the Xara's defense perimeter. Immediately, the battle began. Enemy fire lit up the sky, but Earth's fleet pushed through the line with unmatched tenacity. Crafty ships moved alongside humanity's, supporting each other in perfect harmony. The massive enemy station loomed ahead, its defensive weaponry crackling to life as the battle intensified. In the heat of the battle, Lawson's voice came through the comms. "All ships, engage full throttle. We're going for the heart of their station. No mercy. No retreat." Kaller was at the head of the assault force, leading the charge. His crafty ship, sleek and deadly, tore through the enemy defenses with a fury matched only by the resolve of the warriors aboard. Humanity's best and brightest followed in formation, all targeting the same goal: the Xara's command center. The final push was brutal. Explosions rocked the battlefield as both sides clashed in the depths of space. The Xara's remaining warships fought valiantly, but they were no match for the combined strength of humanity and the outcasts. One by one, the Xara ships fell, their massive forms disintegrating in fire and debris. But the Xara command station was still intact, its defenses holding strong. General Lawson knew the real battle would be fought on the surface of that station. It was there, deep within the station's core, that the Xara maintained their control over the entire fleet. If they could destroy the command center, they could finally end the war. Lawson ordered his best team to board the station. The air was thick with anticipation as they prepared to make their final descent. As the team boarded their shuttle, the planet's surface below them turned to ash and rubble, a testament to the battles that had raged here for months. Now, the fight would be brought inside. The team made its way to the heart of the Xara command station, battling through corridors filled with enemy soldiers. But the Xara had underestimated the strength of humanity's resolve. With each room they cleared, with each piece of the station they destroyed, the Xara's grip on their empire began to loosen. Then they reached it, the heart of the Xara Dominion's control center. Inside, the team planted their final charge, the one that would ensure the end of the Xara's reign of terror. As the countdown began, General Lawson's voice came through the comms one final time. "This is it. No turning back. We've won this war. Now let's make sure the Xara never return." With a thunderous explosion, the heart of the Xara station collapsed, sending shockwaves through their fleet. The mission was complete, and in the aftermath, as the dust of the battle settled, Earth stood victorious. The Xara Dominion, shattered and broken, was no more. The galaxy, once again, was free. Humanity had not only survived, they had become the saviors of the galaxy. The last hope, the final defense, had held strong. And now, a new era of peace could begin. But the true cost of victory would be remembered for generations to come. The price of survival was steep, but humanity had paid it willingly. They had proven that no matter how dark the galaxy became, the light of humanity's spirit would never fade. And so, Earth entered a new age, one of peace, cooperation, and the promise that they would never let the shadows of the past return.